what's the lecture about? It's about my office. I did run for 20 years in Berlin, and some works we developed with this office. And I think what's very interesting, there is a link to the topic Carsten did speak about the upcycling. We started very early with the idea of upcycling, but at the time we started with it, we were not able to make the right conclusion out of it. And maybe it's interesting, because when I hear now Carsten speaking, then it's easy for me to make the conclusion, but maybe a little bit too late. And I think maybe it's interesting to have this missing, to think about this missing link. On the other hand, why I want to show you some of my old works is maybe one thing is to impress you, but I don't know if it's impressing at all. But the other thing, I have some aspects in my work. One is this aspect with this upcycling, but the other aspect is how to work and deal with clients and how to integrate social aspects in architecture. At first, I give you two things. It's a little bit academic or pseudo-academic frame I want to give to my work, and I will show you short, really very short, two things that influenced me in my work after I finished my studies on university. One thing, it was something that came from sociology, what a difficult word, from sociology, from the Institute of Anthropology in the early 20th century. There was a guy called Robert Ezra Bach, and he was the first one in this scientific field who proposed to his students, but he did it by himself. He did go out to the site, and he looked what people are really doing and how they live. And he invented something he called ecology, and he made the research about Chicago. I don't know if you know something about the history of the United States in the early 20th century. There were a lot of famous things, but it was also a time where people, most of the population was very poor. There were really hundreds of thousands of homeless children without any families on the streets, and there were a lot of workers that just were able to find daily works, and they lived also as homeworks. They are called hobos, and he made really a research about these homeless people, and what he made a research, and he made a cartography about all their infrastructure and how they did live in Chicago in the street. And that's something that influenced me really very much. If I started this time really to go to the, especially if you don't have a client as a person, if it's an anonymous group, to go out into the city or in the environment where the people live and really to look to the conditions and maybe try to live with them and get a part of it. Okay, I said short. Another thing that influenced me a lot was learning a study. It was actually the same like here. It was a student's project. It was done by really maybe an architect group. They did not make the best architecture, but they had a lot of influence in architecture in the 20th century. It was Robert Venturi and Denise Scott Brown, and they made together with students a study in architecture where they had the focus on the things, how they really happen and not how they are ordered by the designer. And they choose something really very simple. It was the city of Las Vegas, you know it, the gambling city. And they tried to decode the language of all these casinos and gambling stores with the slot machines, but they also had a focus how people live there in the suburban space and how this space developed. And what me really fascinated is the way how Robert Venturi was able to find the language to communicate these ideas. It was a kind of comics language. And when I've seen these drawings first time, they influenced me so much. It was, for example, the idea that for a building there exist exactly two opportunities. A building is like a duck with crazy behavior. It looks like an icon. This iconographic architecture comes from it. Here seen it was what is the English for, like a takeaway where you can buy food on the street in a takeaway, and it was in form of a duck. And the other opportunity for buildings is to have the decorated shed. This is this kind of Western style architecture that you have all your functions in a simple box. The building is like a box, and you have something like a facade or a sign that is giving the expression to the building. So you can decide by yourself, is this building more a duck or is it more a decorated box? What you would say? Duck or box? Who is for duck, this building? Duck? Duck. Well, okay. Do you think it's a duck or is it a decorated box? No, not at all. Nothing at all. Third opportunity. In between. A duck box. And what's so funny in his drawings, what Venturi did, that he really, you see there's some really famous palaces from Venice, and he really discovered, for example, that all these historical buildings, they are more like a decorated barn. Another thing is how he makes drawings about the suburban, really a very ordinary architecture in the American suburban space, with architects would say it's an architecture without any architectural quality. But what he has seen in this and how he was able to read this architecture is that it's most of it is a projection of the dreams of normal people. It's not a projection of architects' idea, it's a projection of the ideas from just normal people. But I really, when I've seen this drawing, I started to change my drawing style, and I was very influenced by this comics style. And I see that comics are really a very good tool for architects to draw in a cartoon style. You can use it for different things, and I will show you some examples how I use it in my work. Because it's not from things you discover on street, sometimes you cannot show them in photos so good. Comics are a way, and cartoons, to isolate these things and bring the focus really on the topic you want to show. The other interesting thing is, to us normally, it's a scene in Berlin at Kufristraße. It was close to my office at this time. Normally cars, we know people are able to speak. Architects think that buildings speak, but normal people don't trust and believe architects in this case. But if you use comics for research, you can bring people, buildings, cars everything to speak with the speaking bubble. So I think therefore it's a really powerful tool to show something. And you can start to tell stories, have a focus on something. And I think to tell a story is really a good way to tell in comic style, to speak about complex things. You also can use it for technical issues, for every issue. And I think it's less boring than an abstract, academic, written text. And the other thing is that if you write a story or you make a research, it's always hard if you have in a project the research phase and then you want to make your own design phase. And there is always a break in between these two things. But I think with telling stories and draw it like a comics, it's easier to continue. And the other thing is really to think about to bring the things maybe in three-dimensional space. Okay, now I try to show you some examples how we use comics in our work. One was the so-called double room experiment. Actually, it was a theater piece. And we used the comics for one thing, to document it and also to make a proposal to make this thing happen. It was a very simple theater piece. We had one furnished room and one unfurnished room, one with stools to destroy, one with stools to destruct. And the aim of the two actors was to bring the furnished room from this room into the other room. And the only connection in between was a hole of this size. And the idea was to bring the whole environment of the space through this hole. And what's fine with comics, you can use comics. Sometimes if you do such projects, you don't have a proper documentation, and you can use the comics to make the documentation, because there our video recordings failed, and then we had to draw the documentation. Okay, another example is how we did try to bring comics into space. It was an exhibition design in Bauhaus. You know Bauhaus from Walter Gropius in Dessau. It's a famous example of modernistic architecture. It was as well a university, a school for artists and architects. I'm sure you know about it. And we made an exhibition. It was an international building exhibition. And it was about shrinking cities and strategies against the shrinking cities. And the idea or our aim was to find a representation for laboratory situations about the city. And we made out of old, I don't know the English word, how you call them, where you store some chemical things or some liquid inside. We made a kind of exhibition podests out of it. They were very flexible to use. Okay, another example of the use for comics or comic style drawings I want to show you is how to transport a design idea with a drawing. Sometimes it's really not so hard to make, to bring the ideas you have to the people. They make the decision if you can do your design or if you're not able to do your design. And in this case, it was also for a museum's architecture, for a hut museum. And after this simple drawing, everybody understood what was the principle design idea, and we were able to realize this design idea. Okay, I don't tell something about the content about this project. Okay, another example is sometimes it's nice to draw comics to develop ideas or to develop stories, to find the idea for a project. This is an extension to a house built in the 30s in Berlin, and we made the refurbishment and the extension to this house. And it was an architecture done in the Nazi era, and we wanted to stress this building a little bit with our thing, and we thought about it should look like an invasion from outer space, like something crashed into the building. And so we developed the idea, and then we realized it. So it's an extension with a studio because our client was a painter, and she needed an extension to paint, and she really likes to paint directly on the walls, so we had not many windows in this building. The walls were more important, and the inside space changed completely just of this extension. Okay. Maybe I don't show you this project because it's not so important in the context now. And I will jump directly into this aspect what Carsten was speaking about. It was this aspect of upcycling design. We started, when we founded our office, it was in the middle till the end of the 90s in Berlin, and we had no client at this time. We just had the idea to make an office. We had no money, and we started, or we had the idea to make a kind of design performance where the people can bring their old furniture, and we make a live live upcycling in one-to-one, that we make like a little design store. People come with their furniture, they pay a little bit for the one-to-one upcycling design directly to us, and they can go home again with their renewed furniture. We get some money from them to survive, and besides we can do like an illegal bar and earn some money with the drinks we sell to them. But we had as well a theoretical thing. And theoretical text, it is from Umberto Eco. It is a famous author, but also a famous theoretical person. He's really a famous person. He worked in the field of semiotics about the theory of science. And this sentence in English, it means, or I will ask other way around, why do you think happens it that people throw away their furnitures? Because that's really, if you look where old furnitures are collected or in some to the trash, there you find a lot of furnitures. You still can use these furnitures, you can sit on it, but the people throw it away because they don't like it anymore. They think it's not fitting to their flat, maybe it's a little bit too shabby or something, but they are working. our society really throws away a lot of things, they make waste, but we are able to use them. And this sentence of Umberto Eco is about this. He means that objects are semantically worn out. Long time before their materials or their construction is really worn out. And I think that's the key point of the whole idea why we can upcycle things. So we throw things away, we throw an old pullover away or something because it's out of fashion. But the pullover is still working, it keeps you warm in the winter, but maybe it's fashion from the last season, and therefore we throw it away. And our idea of upcycling was exactly on this point. We don't have to think about so much to make the pullover warmer or something. You just have to do something that it comes into fashion again. And that was a theory we tried to base our work or our design work on this idea. How we made this? We made flyers where we do the furniture tuning, the SR is for semantical reloading, and we offered really for cheap prices to make this upcycling design. And we wrote that the people should bring their furniture to our pop-up gallery space, and we do it in one-to-one. Another interesting aspect is that we made the design together with the clients. That's the link to the thing I said in the beginning about this Chicago school. So the people did come with their furniture to our pop-up design shop. We started to talk with the people. Why you don't like this chair? For example, this one, this beach chair. This couple brought the chair and they said, yes, it looks not good and we want to throw it away. And we said, okay, we can do something. Maybe we can add an ashtray to the chair, or maybe we can, maybe we should give it a more fancy look. We can use, you use it normally for the wheels on your car with this spray. We can give it a new color, and maybe we can also make the arm lean wider, and we can make a handle to carry it. So we made, in this case, the design together with the clients. And the other thing is this, we had a formula for it, and the customers had to sign. So we had a summary of the price, and the customers had to sign. We made this in a kind of art performance, of course, but it's very interesting because we founded a kind of market that doesn't exist really, because nobody goes to an architect to refurbish a chair. It's a non-existing market, and we created a kind of laboratory situation to realize this. Okay, then we tried to bring this into real design. It was a loft space, and it's also, I tell it to you because maybe somebody of you will set up an own office with crazy ideas, and it's a really hard task. And when we have done in our pop-up design store without any clients, just these clients became, so we really had nothing to start. We made this pop-up design store, and on the second day a guy did come and said, yes, he bought a loft, maybe we can design for him some furniture. And yeah, then we did visit the space, and then we talked to him that we made the whole space. So we found a real client for a real thing to build. And we got this, we did win this client with our own activity. We did not wait for somebody, or we did not wait for years to win a design competition. No, we just made something nobody else is doing. And I think that's a good idea to start their own practice. The idea for this flat was to think about basic needs. That was my space. I lived at this time in Berlin. We called it wood kitchen. We had a mixture of kitchen and studio. The other thing was to think really about basic needs, like how to eat, how to sleep, and all these things. You know a lot about your own needs, and then we designed this loft space. And the interesting thing on this very three-dimensional space is that it was in a former staircase, and we worked there with a lot of different stairs. But I will jump really very fast through this project. Interesting thing is this guy had another friend, and this friend was a medicinal doctor, and he also did buy a loft space, and then we had within 2 weeks from nothing really 2 clients to do something. Then we made the next loft space. Okay. But then maybe to something more funny again. Then we applied for a theater festival to do this, what we have done with furniture and maybe with a factory space where we made this living space inside. We tried to do this with a city, and we applied for a theater festival in Halle Neustadt. This is a city in former East Germany, and in East Germany or in all the eastern states, they have a lot of buildings, prefabricated homes, really very boring buildings made in mass production, socialist buildings. But the interesting thing in these buildings is all of these buildings have balconies. And we said, okay, we want to tune people's balconies to change the face of the city. That was our theory. And we made this, the same like we have done in the furniture tuning. We made our own balcony tuning shop. But the thing is, what we said, that not the idea from a balcony semantical worn out, because it's nice to have a balcony, but it was this idea of the socialistic city planning. I don't know if you have any idea about socialistic housing, but maybe you know some of these mass production houses in your suburbs, so very cheap, ugly done architecture. And there the idea of the communists was that everybody is the same, and we said society changed, now everybody wants to be something different with their own identity, and we started with this. And then we also made again a formula where we asked the people about their balcony problems. And it was so interesting because it was in the frame of a theater festival, and within, I think, 2 weeks, we had more about 500 clients that came with their balconies, and we, and with a lot of interns, they made internship in our office. They had really waiting numbers, and they did tour the design, and they thought we are theater actors, we are playing architects. But then when they described their balconies and they came to us and we did tour their building, then they were really like, why, you know how my building looks like? And I said, yeah, you described it, and you described what kind of house, what do you think? We're architects, we know this. And the interesting thing is we as well had this laboratory condition again, and we made solution for simple problems. This was a girl, she was a theater girl, and we made a kind of little theater where she can play for their friends theater on their balcony in micro performances. I think there we made something like a slide for the kid. So we solved a lot of problems for people. We made something that the cat don't jump from the balcony, or that they can have breakfast with a table on the balcony. We made a list what materials they have to buy, that they can make it by themselves. But we also made some fun projects for people that don't take it serious. But it was funny for one, for example, I think I don't remember, but they're really a normal couple from this, really very normal people. And I mean, I'm sure they've done a lot of things in their life, but one thing I'm really sure, they would never ever go to an architect and give an architect a commission. And I think that's the interesting thing, really, to find the link to really normal people to go to architect, or to link our profession to just normal people. We also made it for some theater people. They were as well in the festival. We helped them by their performance. For example, we made for this couple a wedding balcony. And then happened something that we started to make a research in the whole city, because the interesting thing was a lot of people told us they are not allowed to do from the company owning the houses to change something on the balcony. Then we made the research, we made tours through the balcony, and then we could go to the mayor of the city and ask why the people are not allowed to change something. So really we tried to go further with our project. We made this research, what people are not allowed to do on the balcony. Then we asked why they are not allowed to do all these things. Then we did find out that people do it actually what we do, but illegal sometimes. And we did find out how creative people deal with their balconies. And we made this guided tour through the city, where we looked at people's balconies together with architects. Then we did think about, because this was the time where Germany's economy was not that strong. That was really the time of the economic crisis in Germany, and we tried to think about how to make business on the balcony. And we did try it out with a little bar we opened on the balcony. Then we made a kind of triathlon, a sport race on the balcony. Okay. Next project, we tried to do something in a real architecture project. We were invited to a kind of project to do in Rems, it's in Austria. And they made in an old factory building a really very nice new university. And the idea was to make here a parking place, a garage. And we wanted to make more out of the garage. There was also a railway station, but nobody had the idea where's the entrance to this university, and nobody had an idea how innovative and good this university was. And so our idea was, because there was a special situation. There's the biggest prison of Austria, there was this university, and there were the rails, there was a river, and we did find a lot of these bands, and we said, okay, we just worked with these existing bands, and also the Bahnsteig, so the platform for the train platform, and also what the way for the fire brigade is older bands. And we said, okay, we make a kind of looping out of these bands to give a sign to this university. So this was our design proposal, as well as comics drawing how we developed this idea. And then we realized the structure. I just show it very fast. Okay. I'm talking now 35 minutes. Maybe I should come to an end. What do you think? Is it boring a bit? Now I really want to show you this project. It's very interesting. So they were really done for our own, but this project is a cooperation with some other people. Benny Balino-Förster, he's a part of Raumlabor in Berlin, maybe you know them, and Peter Alt, it's a sociologist, and it was in the frame of a project for a cultural capital, and it's called the Club of the Non-Swimmers. And I think the interesting aspect on this project is also the upcycling of a space, because this space was really a very ugly space. Nobody recognized it as a nice space before. And the interesting thing in this project is the connection between politics and space, and laws and space, because we always think that we as architects define space, but long time before we as architects do anything as a design in a space, most of the space is designed by laws, what you are allowed to do in a space and what you are not allowed to do. And this project was dealing in a funny way with what you are allowed to do in a space. So this was the area our project was. And what we, okay, now I have to explain the content, the context different. As it was an art project, what we have done. It's this project and the projects before, they were all founded by, it's maybe something linked to your question before, how to survive with such projects. Nobody pays really for this project, so you really have to find some art fundings or something to realize such a project. This is a river, and this was not a river, a channel, and this channel was made for mills, you know, mills to oat mills or something. As really the water is flowing with a high speed, and the thing is, it is this with law and space that people, I don't know, do you know the story? It was maybe 15 years ago that the lady in the United States did buy by McDonald's a coffee, and she did bring the coffee to her legs, and she was burned because of the hot coffee. And then her lawyers did go to McDonald's and said, we will have $2 million because of this accident. And since this time, on every McDonald's coffee cup this cup contains a hot beverage, take care. So it's about responsibility of people. And it's the same with this river. It's forbidden to swim in this river, and therefore the owner of the properties have to make fences that the crazy people, because in Austria people are not able to go on the streets, they always fell into the river when they go there, and that does not happen. There must be a fence. Therefore we made on this side, for example, a sculpture in the fence that the people can look very close to our place, but they cannot fall into the place. It's really, if you don't make the fence and somebody jumps into the water, he can go to the lawyer and make a process against you. But what we made on the other side, we closed our property, And we made a door with a kind of locker. You know these lockers, you can buy them very cheap and you need a PIN code to enter. And who was able to enter? It was the club members, because to found the club, it's in the most countries one of the simplest institutions you can make. For example, in Austria, you need 3 people to found a club. And we did go to the lawyer and we said, yes, we want to found a club with 3 people, the non-swimmer club. And we did give to all the people, maybe this was this. Okay, that's not so important. Maybe these 2 things are important, just notice them, later more to this. Yeah, this was our design we have done. All the other things have nothing to do with design. This was the fence culture. You see here the people from the club, the cool guys, and there were the art visitors, they visited us behind the fence. Okay, this was how it looks like in the club. Yeah, and this was the place where you could become a club member. And for this club, you have something like a club license. And in the club license, you have to sign the club license. You have to sign it. You know, here I signed. And there is standing the rule of the club that you as a club member, you are not allowed to swim in the club area, but you got a PIN code. And everybody who is a club member knows that it's forbidden to swim there, and all the other people, so if they do it for their own risk. And all the other people, if they enter the club, they do it illegal. And here you see how dangerous it is and why we have these ladders. So this guy is falling into the water and is crying, help, 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 I'm in danger. And there another club member tries to help this person, but to help it failed. And therefore we have 2 of these ladders to go out, and in the end we have this rope because it was really so dangerous. Okay, last of all, I just show you a short movie because it's funny. It was also about something in a frame of a theater festival, and we added like an alpine shed on the rooftop of a building. I can tell you a long story, but maybe my lecture is almost too long, so I'll shorten it and just show you the movie.
Stell dich hier und leite dich hinein, in jedem Hauptplatz und glücklich sein. Wir laden dich und deine Leute ein, um heute da zu sein, wo man sich liebt. In der Stadt, hier ist nicht viel Meter Abschied, durch die Straßen, die jede Ahnung auf diesem Gebiet ist. Allen voran, dieser Mann, der Wolfgang. Wir hatten kaum seinen Kunden so sehr gewöhnt. So riecht es. Zur Schlacht zu trinken. 6 Whisky. Zur Schlacht zu trinken. Wir hatten kaum seinen Kunden